Morning, everyone. This is Dave at West Texas Bugs, and it's Christmas morning, snowing like a bear here in Park City, just like it ought to be. So today I'm going to tie a pattern called a Hackle Stacker. It was developed by Bob Quigley, the late Bob Quigley, and this is more of a technique than it is actually a pattern. So I'm going to start off with a MLO 52. Size 14 moonlet hook. This is just a standard wire dry fly hook. For thread, I'm going to use Semperfli's 8/0 waxed in olive dun. And I'm going to go ahead and start my thread at about the 2/3 point. And I'm going to wrap back to the back. Stop right there. Go ahead and remove my waist. And so, like I said, this is not as much of a pattern. So I could do a Cote de Leon tail here. I could do any kind of a tail that I want. I'm going to do a shuck tail. And for my shuck material, I'm just going to use some Semperfli. This is the shuck yarn. It's in a colored dun. And I pulled off a piece of it. And I don't want the whole thickness here, so I'm just going to kind of separate it out and a nice little clump. All right, so what I like to do, if I tie my shuck on in the back and then wrap the butt ends forward with shuck material, it just kind of goes all over the place. So what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring my thread back up to the tie-in point right here. And then I'll take my shuck material and I want to go ahead and cut the ends off square. And then I'll take these square ends, put them right on top, and go ahead and trap that down. This way I can hold my shuck at a little bit of an angle and I can make sure that it stays right on top of my hook. If I tie it in from the back to the front, my butt ends of my shuck just kind of go all over the place. A little easier to control. Then I'm going to cut it about the length of the shank. Okay. Now for this fly, I'm going to go ahead and tie in a one strand of just pearl flashaboo. Put it right here on the side. That tied in, that's going to be my rib. And then I'm going to dub, and for dubbing, I use the Semperfli dry fly dubbing. And this comes in these cool little square tubes, and I can tell you, you get a whole lot more dubbing out of one of these than you do with a traditional tube. And for this fly, I'm just going to use some brown olive. Start my dubbing. I'm going to put a nice thin body on here, but I want to get it, I want it to have a little bit of a taper. So as I go down, I'll thicken it up just a touch. Just take your time, try to get it nice and even. Probably doesn't make any difference to the fish, but it certainly makes a difference to us. Okay, so I'll start with that. So I'll just take my finger and slide my dubbing noodle right up to my hook. I want to make sure and get my first wrap right in front of my tail. Then a nice smooth body just coming forward. You could probably use just a touch more. we go. Okay, now I'm going to bring my my rib up. So what I'll do with my Norvise is I'll go ahead and throw a half hitch in here, my thread out of the way, and I want to counter wrap. And just kind of palmer it up. It just enhances your body. It's probably not absolutely necessary, but can't hurt. Okay, and then tie off my rib. Okay. So now I need to tie in my hackle. And for a hackle on this fly, I've got a piece of Golden Badger. And this is about a size 16 hackle. I want to undersize it just a little bit. And I'm going to place I want my hackle to be shiny side up and right on top of the shaft. So what I'll do is I'll put my stem on my side and just let my thread kind of carry it over. So now my hackle's tied in. Okay, so here's the technique part. So, you know, there's gallows tools, and Ken Burkholder in Boise made a very cool gallows tool that fits the Norvise, but I'm going to guess that most of you people out there don't have one of those. So what I'm going to use is my finger. I'm going to take my thread, I'm going to come around my finger 2 times. And then I'm going to take and lean my loop backwards. And this is how I'm going to trap it. Okay, and I'm going to bring my thread right back to where my body is. All right, so now at this point, I need to dub a thorax. And so what I could do is I could go ahead and wrap my hackle around my thread loop, preen it all back out of the way, and dub my body or my thorax. But what I like to do is do the dubbing now. So I'll go ahead and bring my thread back to the front. I like to dub my thorax from the front to the back, and it's 2 reasons. One is if I start my dubbing right behind my eye, I'll never crowd my eye, and I can get that kind of reverse taper. The other reason is that I need my thread to be right between my thorax and my abdomen. So I'm going to go ahead and put my dubbing on now. And then I'll take and slide this up. And I'll do my first wrap right behind my eye. And then I'm going to bring my thorax back. When I get right here, you notice I have a little bit of dubbing left on my thread, which is what I want. I'm going to stand my loop up and I'm going to come right behind it and leave my thread hanging on the other side of the hook shaft. Now I'll go ahead and put my finger back in the loop, and I can take my hackle and go ahead and start to wrap. And I'm just passing the hackle from one hand to the other. And I want to do nice, smooth, level wraps. And I'm going to wrap up the loop the same distance as it is from the loop to the eye. Okay, so once I get there, then I'm going to bring my hackle back through, coming down. When I get back to the bottom here, I need some weight. So I'm just going to take a hackle plier and get a hold of my hackle here so that I can hang it now and it'll stay out of the way. And at this point, I can let go of everything and it's tied off. Okay, so now with my thread on the other side, I bring it up and I can manipulate my loop to try not to tie down any of my hackle fibers. And you'll find that, you know, this is a little tricky. And if you tie down a few, it's not the end of the world, but I can lift it, manipulate it, and just bring my thread around. And I'm going to go around 3 times. That might have been 3 there. I'll do one more. And do my best not to trap anything. Okay, so now I've tied off my hackle. So I can come in with my scissors and just open the tips. And now I've removed my waste. And I can take a look now, and if I have trapped anything down, which I almost always do, and come in with my scissors. And I can clean that up a little bit right here. Okay, so the next thing that I have to figure out is I need to get my thread up to the eye. And so at this point, if I bring my thread up like this and put it around my eye, you're going to see that diagonal thread wrap coming through the bottom of your thorax. So if you don't want to see that, what you do is you bring your thread over the top, because my hackle is going to pull over that and it's going to cover it all. So now I'm wrapping in the wrong direction. So to fix that, then I just go ahead and throw a half hitch. And now my thread's going in the right direction. Okay, and now moisten your fingers, grab a hold of the loop, and just start working all these fibers back. I just want to take my time and get them all preened. I'm preening them kind of back and up a little bit. So once I've got them back, then I'm going to take this thread loop and I'm going to put it right down next to my hook eye. Didn't want to cooperate here. And I can take my thread and I can come over and do 1 loose wrap, 2 loose wraps to trap my loop right on top. And then holding your bobbin tight, stack. Okay, now I pull tight to tighten up those 2 loose wraps, preen everything back, and now I can create my head. Okay, now I want to get rid of this loop. So to do that, I'm just going to take and open the points of my scissors. Oops. Remove that. And now I have my hackle stacked. And I can come in here now and create a head. Now, one of the things with this fly is visibility. So if I've tied on a fairly light colored hackle, it makes it obviously much easier to see. If you think that you need additional visualization, at this point you could take a piece of just parapost and loop it in your thread, bring your thread up, and then you can position it right where you want it, right there. And I could tie that in and trim it up and put a post on the front, which is a really good way to put a cider post on this fly. My good friend Paul Shirtliff does that on all his paraposts, or I'm sorry, hackle stackers. But for this fly, I'm just going to do a regular hackle stacker. So now I just come in and whip finish. And you can take a good look at your fly. If you've got hackle fibers going places that you don't want them to go, you can trim it up, get it all neat and tidy, which again probably doesn't make any difference to the fish, but we like it. And so it's not really that hard a fly to tie. It's a great mayfly pattern. Obviously, you can tie them in any size, any color, using whatever materials you want. You know, for the body, I could use a goose biot. I could use a strip peacock quill. pheasant tail. Makes a nice body for these. And then I'm going to come in with my Solar Res and this handy dandy little brush. So that is Bob Quigley's Hackle Stacker. Not too hard to tie. It fishes very well, floats well, and that's all I got. Have a happy holiday, and see you again.